Hey everyone, Kyle once again, and welcome back to the next I was supposed to say episode review, but next movie review. So today I'll be reviewing the next one, which I enjoy. I saw this back in the theater back in 2004. And I know, once again, this is another one of those films that someone in the comments kept saying, "Hey, why don't you review this film?" Like I said before, I don't take requests because I like to do movie reviews on my own terms. You know, wherever I feel like it. I just don't take requests though. But I will eventually review a film when the video asks. I'll eventually review a film whenever I can though. But like I said, I don't take requests. So it's like, oh, say, will you review this film, or will you review that film? Like I said, I'll get whatever I want to review them though. Okay. But one of them was asked once someone in the comments was asking to review this film, but since now I finally get a chance to get around to review the film, I will do that now. So the movie review the movie I'll be reviewing today is of a film that stars Will Smith, and not too many people don't talk about it nowadays. You know, they always talk about a lot of his films that people know him from the most, but of course Will Smith nowadays, you know why, but the film we were talking about or reviewing is of the 2004 film I, Robot. As I said, from 2004. And I said it stars Will Smith, and like I said before, you know how Will Smith is nowadays, you know. Douchebag though. Well, the whole Smith family is, so. But beside that though, I always liked Will Smith though. As an actor, I liked. I'm not really big on his music, you know, and stuff like that, but acting wise, yeah, as an actor, I enjoy a lot of Will Smith's other films, you know. I mean, I love Independence Day, right? I enjoy this film, the Men in Black films, etc. But this one, not too many people talk about this film nowadays. No, hardly. This one is based on almost kind of like forgotten about, which is yeah, not pretty much forgotten, but I still enjoy this film. I said I saw this back in the theater back in the summer of 2004, and it's directed by Alex Proyas, which this guy is a decent director. I mean, he directed the first the Crow film, the late Brendan Lee, and he also directed a film called Dark City, which I enjoy as well. He also directed the film of he also directed the film called Knowing with Nicolas Cage, and then sadly he directed that film, the 2016 film Gods of Egypt, which was terrible, and that was a huge box office flop though. So Gods of Egypt, that was a terrible film. But the films I enjoy like The Crow, Knowing, and then Dark City. But this is another one I also enjoy from. So, and also a decent cast as well. I mean, so you have, as I said, Will Smith, the woman who plays this girl named Calvin, who works at this company of USR, by Bridget Moynahan. Must pronounce her last name. Sorry. Which I didn't know. Which I didn't know though, that she's the one actually. She plays John Wick's wife, Keanu Reeves' deceased wife. I'm like, really? Wow, that was her, who from I, Robot. She plays Keanu Reeves' dead wife from the John Wick films. I didn't know about that. But other cast members, you have Bruce Greenwood, who's been in a lot of films, which I've seen. So is James Cromwell. You have Shia McBride, who's also been in some other films as well. And then you got Alan Tudyk, who plays, I think he did the motion capture and the voice of this robot named Sunny. So, and Alan Tudyk, which I think he's also a good actor as well. Especially I loved him when he played Tucker, from the dark comedy horror film Tucker and Dale versus Evil, which that was a great film, underrated at times, and just I love Tucker and Dale versus Evil. He played Tucker. Of course, he's been in those other films as well, like Steve the Pirate from Dodgeball, which I think was the same year as this film, 2004. A lot of other films as well. Alan Tudyk. Buzz and Bruce Greenwood who played Captain Pike from the 2009 rebooted Star Trek and the sequel Into Darkness. Double Jeopardy, The Core. He's been in a ton of other stuff, and then of course James Cromwell. Which I remember back when he was much younger in the mystery comedy film Murder by Death. Though of course then also stuff like The Longest Yard. He was in Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom as Lockwood. But he's been, like I said, a lot of movies too. And it's like Chief McBride. He's been in a few films I've seen him in. Like he was in The Terminal with Tom Hanks. Mercury Rising with Bruce Willis and Alec Baldwin. So decent cast. And also Shia LaBeouf as well, which he's not in the film that much. He's only in it for a few scenes. One in the beginning, and then a little at the third act of the movie. Shia LaBeouf. I mean, we know how he is nowadays, though. But as an actor, I liked him. Of course I enjoy him from Disturbia, Eagle Eye, of course starring in the Transformer films. Of course, he was in the Disney film Holes before this. Of course, the war film Fury. But Shia LaBeouf, I mean, he lost his mind after. Oh, of course, Indiana Jones in the fourth one, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Yeah, but Constantine. And after this, he'd do the DC film Constantine with Keanu Reeves. But so I like Shia LaBeouf as an actor too, as well, though. He's nowadays not well. But yeah, so the story is the plot. It's in the future. It takes place in Chicago of 2035, and they have these robots, which this generation is it's a 4, generation 4, right, of robot, and Will Smith, he plays Detective Spooner, a cop, and he gets a call about a suicide of the scientist who works for this company of USR. So, and the scientist is played by Alfred Lanning is his name, played by James Cromwell. They say he killed himself as a suicide, but he left a message for Will Smith, which they knew each other, and he was leaving a message he leaves himself a holographic message of him, a holographic image of James Cromwell for Will Smith to answer questions, and then after they investigate along with Bridget Moynahan as Calvin, who works at USR. Bruce Greenwood is the guy who's basically he's in charge of USR. He's the richest man in the world, I think, what Will Smith said. So he's investigating, and then eventually one leads to another. They come across this robot named Sonny, which is played by Alan Tudyk. And they wonder, they think he has the power to not obey the rules. For these USR robots, these next generation of robots are Gen 5, and they are a program with the three laws that James Cromwell made. 3 laws safe, right? One, a robot cannot harm a human being or murder. 2, the second one is that they have to obey every command, and 3, they have the robot has the right to defend himself if it doesn't conflict with the first or second laws. So, but Sonny is a robot that James Cromwell designed to. He has the 3 laws, but he chooses not to obey them. A whole new generation of robot. What Calvin said. So, you get this chase where, he won't chase him, but he escapes. Then we get this robot at the robot factory. There's this whole long lines of robots, and then Will Smith is looking through them. There's this whole rows and rows of robots, and eventually Sonny gets caught, and Will Smith interrogates him. Sonny's saying, my father, his designer, James Cromwell, said, "Hey, try to teach me emotions," and Will Smith, he keeps saying, "Why'd you kill him?" and all that, and then Sonny, just outbursts, slams his hands on the table, saying, "I did not murder him." And Will Smith's like, "That was called anger. Ever experienced anger before?" Then later, Will Smith goes to James Cromwell's house where he has a cat, and there was this demolition robot that was scheduled for 6 a.m. in the morning, but it was reprogrammed for 6 p.m. at the nighttime. So it starts destroying the house with him in it, which a lot of it, the destruction of the house seems practical with Will Smith running inside of it as it's being destroyed. Some CG enhancements, but a lot of it looked like it was practical with him running inside it as it's being torn down. And then he goes to see Calvin again, Bridget Moynahan, and she's like, "What happened to you? Don't you ever have a normal day?" And he's like, "Yeah, once. It was a Thursday." And he's like, "Hey, do you have cats?" And she's saying, "Did cats do this to you?" And he's like, "How the hell would cats do this to me? Are you crazy?" So he sees his plan that the robots are starting to evolve and doing more investigating. And then now that the new robots are replacing the old robots for everyone in town. You can have one in your home, and Will Smith's grandma has a robot of her own, and he gets the idea that Alfred was leaving him trail of breadcrumbs, because he found the story of Hansel and Gretel, leaving clues, a trail of breadcrumbs for him to find. And then you get this scene where he's driving in this tunnel, which is quite funny. Which is funny that there's this underground tunnel to drive in, but yet there's no people around. I find that kind of coincidental. It's funny, but also same thing coincidental. He just happens to drive in this tunnel where there's nobody around. But that's where you get these 2 large vehicles that was carrying these robots. And wherever they turn on, they attack them. They have this red light flashes on them, and then he's like, "There's no way my luck is that bad." And then once the red light turns on him, he's like, "Oh hell no!" And you get this scene where all these robots are on his car. He makes his car spin, makes sense. All of them flying off. They all crash and. And then he sees you get this little thing that where Will Smith had these Converse, the shoes. You probably see me you've seen me wore Converse before, right? Those are my favorite type of shoes, right? But it's this running thing where he talks about he got these special Converse and he looks at them after the crash and they're totally ruined now. And so there's this one robot that survived the crash, and he gets into one-on-one combat with the robot, and the robot has this pipe and hits his arm, but it turns out Will Smith has his left arm is a robotic arm, and which I'll get to that in a second though. But as the police start to arrive, the robot just commits suicide, so it jumps right into the fire. And then his lieutenant, his boss, played by Chi McBride, which you say are kind of are friends though, but thing is though, Chi McBride thinks this Will Smith, his whole obsession with robots are bad guys, right? Which eventually leads to him getting Chi McBride suspending him, you know. And so, then it at least comes this whole idea, because the opening of this film starts with Will Smith and gets in this car crash along with this girl that was in another car, in which it turns out, when Calvin comes over to his house, Will Smith tells that his arm, it's a robotic arm that he got when he got into this car accident. So he lost it, so they gave him this robotic arm, which is very strong. But he tells him about the little girl named Sarah, that he and her got in this car accident from the semi truck that hit both of them, and it made them got pushed into the river. So there was one of those old robots that saw it jumped in the water, and it saved Will Smith. It saved Spooner, because it said that he was a more logical choice, had more chance of surviving more than the girl Sarah. And so that's why that Spooner had developed this hatred of robots, because robots have no emotions, they don't feel anything, they just are programmed to do what they do with no care or emotions, right? So that's why he dislikes robots that much, because he chose him, the more logical choice, to be saved more than a little girl, basically. So that's why he disowns robots so much, because of that. So they go to SR to talk to Sonny again, and said that he also, not only that he's able to have choose not to obey the laws, but James Cromwell programmed Sonny to give him dreams, and so he does a drawing of his dream of this robots down on this hill, and one person on top of the hill saves them. And then they talk with Bruce Greenwood again, and this is where you get to see where Will Smith says the phrase. He's like, I'm sorry, I'm allergic to bullshit. If wonder what, I've said that line quite a few times in my videos in the past, right? That's where I got that line from. That was always such a funny line. I'm sorry, I'm allergic to bullshit. That's where I get the line. You hear me say that stuff in my videos beforehand a lot of times in the past. So if it was where I said the line before, why I said that, because when I'm going ranting and raving about a certain thing, I said that I'm allergic to this bullshit. Whenever you saw me sneeze, right, on camera, which I'm sorry for that, but yeah, that's where I get that line from this movie. I'm sorry, I'm allergic to bullshit. So afterwards, he goes to the place where Sonny had that dream, and where this broken bridge was in Lake Michigan. And so he goes and talks to James Cromwell again on the holographic image, answering the questions differently this time, saying is there a problem with the 3 laws? And James Cromwell, the 3 laws are perfect. Then why would you build a robot that can function without them? The 3 laws can only lead to one logical outcome. What? What outcome? Revolution. Whose revolution? That, detective, is the right question. And so he sees that the new robots are destroying the older ones. He runs, and then some of the older robots, they save him by jumping in the way. And so then now all the other robots, the new robots, are roaming the streets. Shia LaBeouf pops back in, because he was in one scene talking to Will Smith at the beginning, and he pops back up until now, and him, this big crowd of people rebelling against the robots, and then Will Smith. First he gets Calvin. Spooner gets Calvin by shooting her robot in her house, and he's like, you know what? I told you so. Just doesn't quite say it. And then they're back in the street. And he sees Shia LaBeouf And then like he rides his motorcycle, he's in the air, pulls out his 2 guns and shoots the robots. And then Shia LaBeouf's like, "Hey, stop!" He's like cussing, and Will Smith's like saying, "Stop cussing and go home." So, and that's it. I mean, Shia LaBeouf only appears in like pretty much like 2 scenes in the film, and that was like his role was very small. So, if people don't like Shia LaBeouf, well, not to worry. He's only in for maybe like 2 minutes, like 30 seconds at the start of the film, and then maybe additional like 1 minute of the movie. So like they're like on screen time like a minute and a half. So they get into back into the main USR building. They find Bruce Greenwood dead, and then Spooner's debating who else had access and all the stuff, and they figure out that it's this other computer that works at USR named Vicky. She's the one who's behind this whole entire thing because she sees how the laws are used differently. She wants to use the robots to look. She looks at for everything for a different perspective, which results in some death. And like she's evolved as well. And I like the fact that where Sonny pretends to to hold Bridget. I'll just call her Bridget. At gunpoint, right? And he does the little wink to Will Smith because earlier when he was during the interrogation, he sees Will Smith do one of the winks, right? And he's like, "What does this mean?" And he says it's a sign of trust. So I like the fact that Sonny learned from that and he used that to know that he's playing Vicky. So they shoot the robots and Sonny goes and gets these nanites, which will help kill Vicky. He gets a fight with some robots and sees a much stronger robot. He defeats him easily. Like he throws one into this shield, splits it, and it just splits one in half. And so then all the other robots, they storm the building from the roof. There's this big shootout, and Bridget is hanging on, dangling from below, and he tells Spooner tells Sonny to save Calvin. He gets the nanites. He injects it into Vicky. Spooner does as well. Sonny saves Calvin. Now that she's destroyed all the robots, they return back to normal. And as Will Smith's like, "Sonny, Calvin's fine. Save me." So then they eventually learned like Sonny is the one who did kill Dr. Lanning, James Cromwell, because he said that Sonny said that he made him swear James Cromwell made him swear before he told him what to do, and which he told him to kill him, which said that his suicide was the first message to get to get Spooner, right? First breadcrumb. So, and says he said, "Are you?" And Sonny goes says, "Are you going to arrest me?" And then Will Smith says, "Well, murder defines as one human killing another, so technically you can't commit murder, can you?" And then they shake hands, and so Sonny's saying, "Hey, what do I do now since I fulfilled my purpose?" So now he's the one who stands on top of the hill and looks on to the other robots are looking at him now, of him being the leader of the robots now. So overall, yeah, I, Robot I thought was a pretty fun film. I think sometimes I think I see this now as one of the more underrated Will Smith movies. I mean, a lot of people are looking more from Independence Day or the Men in Black films as his more popular films. But I think this is one of his films that are forgotten about. I mean, Wild Wild West, I know a lot of people remember him from that film, which people want to forget still. But I think iRobot is still worth a watch if you're a fan of Will Smith. But of course, he's always he's a dick nowadays because it all started, of course. It all started with the slap heard around the world at the Oscars when he bitch slapped Chris Rock over a joke. Okay, which, by the way, yeah, like I said before, he was laughing originally, but no. That's what, like I said, that's what comedy is to make people laugh. I mean, like I said before when I did those videos, if Richard Pryor was alive today, you think that would fly? He makes fun of everybody, including himself. That's called comedy. I mean, have you seen Eddie Murphy's, his comedy, Eddie Murphy, Raw? You know, Raw, you know, like his comedy? You know, it's called comedy for a reason. It's called a joke. It's supposed to make you laugh. Yeah. That's what just kind of made me lose respect for Will Smith after that, because... But like I said, the whole family is crazy, you know. I mean, I don't like Jaden Pinkett Smith, you know. Or, I don't like Will Smith. I don't like his son either. So... But all that bullshit aside about him nowadays, so... But back then, I still like Will Smith for the films he did back then, though. But iRobot, I do think I thought it was more of more forgotten ones, and I think it was one of his more underrated movies. I mean, the film did very well at the box office. It cost like $120 million, and it made like $144 million U.S. worldwide, over $300 million. It did fairly well, but I think they had plans for a sequel. But I think they gave that up, though. Too bad. And it was given mixed reviews. I mean, it has like a 57% Rotten Tomatoes, but it does have a 7.1 on IMDb. So I guess people who like this film gave it a high rating on IMDb. For features, it has a making of, and has an auto commentary with the director and the screenwriter Akivia Goldsman, which I've seen this guy's name before on a whole lot of other screenplay writing or executive producer Akivia Goldsman. I've seen his name in some other films as well on there. The music by Marco Beltrami, which he's done a lot of scores for a lot of films as well, including stuff like Die Hard 4 or the first Resident Evil movie, but among other films as well. So, and I thought the director Alex Proyas did a good job with this film. Definitely a lot better than Gods of Egypt, and I still think I'll put it above Knowing, though. I think I would, but I think still his best films. I think it's The Crow. Then I put Dark City, and then I put this film, you know, and then Knowing, and then of course, like I said, Gods of Egypt is terrible. So, but yeah, iRobot, it was still a fun film though. I enjoyed it. If anyone's a fan of Will Smith, I give this a watch. I think this is one of his more forgotten films, let alone one of his more underrated movies. So that's it. So that's iRobot. I think it's still a fun film. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next movie review. We'll see you next time. Later.